Our text from Deuteronomy addresses something really serious. There will be people who will claim to know everything. But if we listen to them, they can lead us astray. Even Jesus talked about this. Beware of false prophets, or fake information, if you will. My sense is that in that time, there were plenty of people who would stand on the equivalent of a street corner and prophesy. They'd claim authority from their dreams, calling on false idols as the source of their inspiration. And the writers of Deuteronomy and countless true prophets since were so wary of them. If we want revelation, one single source will never be enough. Not the constellations, not a dream, not even just the language of the Bible. None of these means anything revelatory in a divine way if God isn't behind it. That's what the text wants us to understand. Sometimes it's hard to distinguish fantasy from reality when it comes to religion and beliefs, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We build an image of the divine based on what we hear, what we absorb in God language, what we've experienced in terms of authority in our lives. And I do believe that God can appear to us, or some of us, in our imagining. Imagination is of crucial importance as we build images of who God is and what God does. Where we have work to do is with the process of discerning who God truly is. Conflating our thoughts with God's is one of the most common traps that we can fall into spiritually, but it happens. The thing to keep in mind is that God is not just the image we construct of God. We'll get some things right, thank God, but we'll be off in some ways too. God is more than an image or a dream. God is actually quite real. When I wrote God Is, my children's book, I wanted to clarify some things about God in the language of a child. I wrote things, and my own child, who, by the way, is a brilliant writer, honed my language further by simplifying the words, condensing it to their truest meaning. But as she did this, she introduced even more complexity into the message I was giving. And I think my original words for this particular section we're talking about today was, God's not a fantasy, God is reality. And my child made that clearer. God is real. I take the time to share this because I think, particularly in certain more educated spaces, sometimes we can be a bit too heady about who God is. God isn't a concept. God isn't a fantasy. God is. Jesus is the Word, the concept in flesh, real, walking next to us. And God gave us the Holy Spirit to be that constant presence that lives inside us and every living being that surrounds us with love and grace. The Holy Spirit is our channel to the divine. She orders our steps. The Holy Spirit is. In your reflections and conversation, I'm going to invite you to consider this. When is God most real to you? When do you feel God most? For me, that tends to be in worship, especially in song. But sometimes it's also just in the rustling of the wind, in the moments when I'm alone and struggling and I just need my tears to dry. In those moments, when no one can reach me, something does. And that reach, that connection and the warmth and the healing it brings, it may involve a dream, but it's very, very much real. When have you known God to be real? What would you need for God to feel real?